But I want to start with you, Laura Pakenham. I want to ask the question, has Irish, like the language, the culture, our presentation across the world, and here, of course, as well, has it become cool? Is that fair? Am I being really reductive there by even asking that question? Because I'm aware that some people will say the Irish language has always been an incredible thing. Irish culture and arts and everything we've ever done, sporting success, you name it, we've always punched above our weight. We've always been great. But for some reason, I kind of feel like we can't avoid that in the last 10 years or so. And I think even through some of the stuff you've been doing, it's very hard to look away now and say that there isn't a generational shift. But look, I've already rambled. Please save me from myself.
Yeah, I think, Irish always has been incredible. But what I think contributes to this idea now that Irish is cool now is because of its presence, I think, online and on social media. And I'd say more so in terms of the Irish language as opposed to a revival. I'd say there's more been a mindset shift. If I even compare people's reactions maybe 6 years ago when I'd be telling them what I was pursuing and what I was doing in college, it was kind of, oh God, that's a big task. And, would you not be better off employment opportunities wise doing another language or something that will take you more global? Whereas the reactions people have now is so overbearingly positive, and it's like, wow, I wish I was doing that. That's so cool. And I think it's just the fact that we see Irish so much more present now on social media, and in terms of the role it plays in culture, we're seeing it slipping into social media trends and keeping a place there. And then that filters into fashion, that filters into music, that filters into the arts on a broader sense than maybe it has been present so far. So then it becomes, I guess, modern, and I guess it matches more with our lives now. It's not something anymore that for a lot of people was just pertained to the classroom. I know, everyone in this country has had a different experience with the language, but for a lot of people, including myself, it was only a subject until I was 18 and then decided to pursue it in college. And thankfully, my journey with the language has also coincided with this revival, air quotes, or this kind of cultural mindset shift. So I've kind of very naturally and smoothly kind of gotten into that groove, I suppose. But yeah, people are just, I guess, more appreciative of it now. And because the language comes back to so much, it comes back to history, it comes back to culture, and in understanding one aspect of it, it opens so many more doors as well.
Hugh Carr, so like Laura, you are a broadcaster, a content creator, a writer, a journalist, whichever. You're even a voice in the Irish language SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
I am indeed, yeah. That's probably the one that people ask the most questions about, to be honest.
Quite the feather in your cap. Again, is that the case? Is it just that actually it took a new generation of people to kind of step outside what had been handed down to them, really, and find their own way? Like, how do you look at the landscape now of young Irish people, not just young, but Irish people in general, and kind of the relationship with the language, with the culture?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't ignore what was kind of passed down before when you think about the what we have as the foundation for what is happening at the minute doesn't happen without the kind of the generations giving us the language before, showing us the different aspects of culture, being brought to Irish dancing lessons, being taught about like the claddagh, and being taught about all kind of the cultural touchstones of the Irish language. But it really has, I think I agree in the terms that it was a mindset shift for the general public, because I think, again, we've kind of always known that it was cool. Like, I never once felt like whenever I was working with the Irish language that I was uncool, or that what I was doing was uncool. Like, for example, same for Laura, like it was very much like a subject in class for me, even though I was from the Gaeltacht. It was kind of just the language that I would use. I didn't see it as such a strong aspect of my own personality. It was just the language that I spoke, and it wasn't until I moved to Dublin and started meeting people who had kind of this reimagining of the language, or kind of their own perspective on the language, that I thought, oh wait, actually this is a really strong part of who I am and my own identity. And then through that, then in doing work with, say, Radio Rira and with Belfield FM, and even stuff like I helped making translations for Humans of the Set, the Facebook page that was around years ago, where people would basically send in their stories about their nights out, and then I then started translating those stories into Irish. Like that, like it never felt uncool to be doing that. But I definitely think now at the minute people can see that there's more possibilities, and there's more chances for people to kind of use the language as their own identity signifier, or as a means of, and I do think it's kind of tied in with the kind of the contextualization of Irish culture. I think we all looked very inward, especially towards lockdown, that people, at the very start, you think of Normal People, you think of how massive brands like Palador and like all these brands that use the Irish language, and shows that are kind of really built into Irish culture or that really capture Irish culture. Like, I feel like the first time I saw the words "Irish is cool again" was Paul Mescal speaking to T.G. Carr. That was definitely the first time that but again, it wasn't even like that particularly big of a conversation.
It wasn't, but it was just seeing it in that context.
Yes.
In scenes and in, I guess, environments that we hadn't seen it before. And it was like, oh, this is something that exists outside the classroom. And even in terms of, as you said there, how many opportunities are available now with the language and within the working scene. You know, when I was growing up, I was thinking, oh, if I pursue Irish in any format, it's going to be either as a teacher or as a translator, locked in some dark dungeon translating government official documents. But now people are seeing it on the red carpet, and they're seeing it in movies. They're seeing it, you know, as voice actors. They're seeing it in music. And again, it's just the visibility. I think in terms of the mindset shift, I guess maybe an answer, the cause for that is the visibility.
100%.
You know, that we can actually see it in these contexts and see the value of it then. And I guess also seeing how proud people are of it. You know, because I don't think if your teacher is baiting down your neck about, okay, you need to get 100% in this exam to get X amount of points to get into college, I don't think that's necessarily going to inspire love and passion within anybody. No. But unfortunately, if that's the only, you know, sphere in which the language exists in your life, you can't see it in any other way other than a marker of success and a marker of academic success.
We'll come back to culture and social media in a moment, but like, let's go to the classroom, because you are a Moonshore as well, and like, this is the part of the show where Dave totally doxes himself. I'm a 41-year-old man, guys.
No!
I'm sitting here with two sickeningly young, cool people, and this is the task that has been handed down to me. But in fairness, when I was in school, I hated the Irish language, and I was very proud of my hatred of the Irish language. Please stay with me, listener. I swear I do eventually see the ignorance and the error of my ways. But when I was younger, I was really... We all rebel as a teenager, that's fine. But I remember doing like my French oral and saying in French that Irish was a dead language to the French teacher, who was disgusted by what I was saying. And look, is it fair of me to turn around and go, I was taught it in a really archaic way, and I was never given any kind of map or roadmap, and I didn't have people around me? And I think even when I was younger, there was an Irish school next to one of my schools, and I thought maybe it was a bit elitist or something. You know, like, I look on now, though, with a bit of envy at people, at the new generations coming up, and even people who I work with who will slip into Irish on the desk and such. So I've totally changed my opinion about this, but I do feel like I'm late to the conversation, and the prospect of learning any new language kind of freaks me out. But from an educational level in this country, what has changed, and do I have a valid point like that I really felt closed off in how I was taught?
I suppose it's kind of multifaceted. When it comes to education, I think purpose plays a huge role in a student's ability and want to to soak in, I guess, what they're learning. For me personally, I am not a numbers kind of gal. Science, maths, geography, history, they were never my strong suits. And I knew that I was probably never going to pursue them, and therefore they had no purpose to me. They had no value to me. And I think what needs to be embedded into, and is being embedded into, Irish language education is that it has a purpose and value outside of being a subject. Okay, fair enough, it has had to be constrained to that for the preservation of the language when, you know, we went through so many years of it trying to be, you know, pushed out to the wayside. It had to be protected academically and in writing and formally for it to, you know, sustain at all, alongside those in the Gaeltacht areas who, I guess, preserved the spoken language. So in terms of purpose, I think what needs to be embedded into the Irish language education is seeing that, okay, fair enough, we have to learn this in school, but look how central this is in our music, in our stories, in our tales, in our folklore. And even just all the little stories at home that, you know, mum and dad would be telling your granny and granddad, and even so much of the English we speak in Ireland. Hiberno English is so fascinating. And again, it helps you understand, and therefore you're seeing the purpose, you're seeing the value, regardless of whether it's a subject you academically align with, you know, because it is tricky to have a personal relationship with a subject you don't academically or you don't personally align with. You know, I can't say I love maths, you know, I'm not here like dreaming about numbers or anything like that in my sleep. And I say for teachers, particularly primary teachers, because that's where it starts, whether it's in an Irish medium school or an English medium school, teaching Irish is a weighted task. And primary teachers, they have 13, 14 subjects on their plate already.
Of course, yeah.
And Irish is a subject that needs to be taught with a love and with that broader context being brought into it as well. You can't just portray content that's on a page and hope that the student soaks it in.
May I ask then, because, and again, listen, for any teachers who are listening, particularly ones of my generation, etc., I'm not meaning to dismiss what you've done or diminish that work, and there's clearly limitations in teaching, and you only have X amount of time, you have to get so much in, and I recognise those things completely. But just when you're talking about Irish there, and I'm curious, and I don't mean this in a negative way either, is Irish a specialist subject in Ireland?
It's a tricky one. I don't think you can take the same approach to teaching Irish in Ireland as teaching Spanish or other modern foreign languages, because clearly it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody comes down to. They say, well, I studied Spanish for 6 years in secondary school. I have more of that than I have Irish that I was studying for 14 years. And I think that only, ricochets onto the fact that teaching Irish is a weighted task, because you have to take in the cultural impact and the historical impact as well. It's not as easy, as I said, as just saying this word means that and that's fine. Because then with teaching Irish, you have this whole mindset thing as well of not wanting to create a dependency or a fallback onto English, because that kind of damages the integrity of Irish, because it's kind of our default to fall back onto English, which is challenging enough. And then, you have situations where in Gael schools, the kids will speak Irish in class, but then they're going out and speaking English on the yard, and they're not carrying the Irish with them socially. Even
on the desk here in work, like I say, like two people will start the conversation in Irish, there'll be a random English word in there, it'll go back to Irish. I always find that fascinating with any language, where there's kind of the mix and match almost.
Translanguaging, I'm very proud I know that term actually. So I just had to drop that in. Yeah, translanguaging, it's this kind of mindset or this idea that two languages can coincide, because I think there's been a very strict model in Ireland that Irish was kind of put in under these parameters in the education sphere, and Irish medium education, that you speak Irish at school, Béarla is no. But that's not healthy either, because then, as you said, that whole rebellion thing, it's like, well, the teacher's trying to tell me to speak Irish. No more than if your teacher tells you not to wear your coat in class or not to wear makeup to school. You're going to rebel against that authority at that age. And it's such a crucial age to not have them rebel against it. So when you paint English out to be bad and Irish out to be, maybe, I guess students would look at it as elitist because it's what the teachers are imposing on you, people are going to turn their back on it. Yeah. And that's where the damage happens.
Hugh, listen, let's get to culture, because, and just the general kind of character of Irishness around the world, particularly from here to there. You're a man who likes a Pelador jumper. You love going to Bows games. You're often at gigs of which the Irish language is involved, like talk about the likes of Kneecap, etc. For you, again, I guess you've never known anything other than, as you said, I really loved what you said earlier when you said you never thought you weren't cool. Like, in general, of course, when it comes to the Irish language. So what have you seen? Like what has happened in terms of this becoming a bigger thing? And also, to bring in the fact that, I don't know about you, but I kind of find it a bit mad when you look over at Britain. And there are lots of British people now who I think are kind of cosplaying as Irish, which is, in and of itself, opens up a bizarre colonial can of worms. So how do we make sense of all of this?
How do we make sense of all of this? Yeah, it has, in the last few years, it has completely and utterly shifted. I do think that we are seeing it way more in our art. I mean, of course, Choice Music Prize Album of the Year, Euro Country, starts with the Irish language. It opens up with CMAT singing As Gaelic. Of course, the kneecap effect cannot be completely ignored. I do think, though, in terms of those things, like the foundation was set by all of the art and all of the kind of the culture that had come before that. And I will talk about him until the cows come home, but Ronan McAwee, who was a broadcaster on Radio na Gaeltacht, was so instrumental in creating that space for those kind of artists to go forward and to make it into something a lot good. Like the first Kneecap gigs, one of them was at the Cabaret Cracklecha, but like not even just them, like bands like Mahatma Yanzi, bands like Tradiohead, and like all these kind of like recontextualizations and these reimaginings of the Irish language and like what it can look like. It was all through the work that he was doing. On the England thing, it is very interesting. It's nearly the reverse of Cool Britannica. Like back in the 90s where it was cool to be, like Oasis and Blur and to be the lads who were, really messy and stuff, whatever. Whereas now it's, I don't know, new era. Is that what you would call it? Maybe is that what the marketing slogan that we're going to use whenever we're
that's
going?
Definitely a Spotify playlist somewhere.
I think the Spotify playlist is called A Breath of Fresh Air. I think I think that's what the Spotify playlist is. But I think it is that it's that after all these massive cultural exports, like how successful the Kneecap movie was, how successful Normal People was, artists like CMAT, who just did like a sold out gig in the Alexandra Palace in London and brought out Harry Hill dressed as a dartboard. Like there are
Danes as well. I know their music isn't Irish language, but they are definitely part of this movement.
Yeah, there's so much Irish, and like in fairness, it's not anything new. Like Irish writers and Irish, you can go back as far as Singh and Yeats and Wilde, hundreds of years of Irish people being kind of at the forefront of
saints and scholars.
Yeah, like the land of saints and scholars. Like
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Exactly, like we're Mary. Yeah, exactly. There's so much. We have so much cachet as a kind of an exporter of culture and an exporter of literature. So it's not anything new that people kind of look to Ireland as a place for inspiration in terms of music and stuff. But I do think now that along with the inspiration of both Irish culture, I think the Irish language stuff is coming in. Like bands like Huartan and Imlay and all these other lads who are kind of on the forefront of making Irish music and making it more, I guess, I don't want to say palatable because that makes it sound like that it wasn't palatable before. Like
accessible to a mainstream audience.
Yeah, I think so.
Even acts like Lancome, where you have 10-minute incredible drone songs which are fused by Irish traditional music, and it can be some of the most incredible things you've ever heard. And again, when I was younger, I probably would have ran a mile from a trad session.
Yeah, of course.
Hang on, no, this is unbelievably skilled, and I was the problem. But and that could be your own kind of level of grappling with Irishness and where do I fit in, and so I'm curious on that point, Laura. Like, I mean, when it comes to other cultures, whether it's assimilating our culture or whether it's embracing our culture, like you name it, should should Irish language and Irish culture be open to everybody, or is there any sense of gatekeeping anywhere? Is there any kind of people who are very precious about the Irish language, Irish culture, and want to keep it for ourselves?
This is a tricky one, because as I've kind of gone on a journey with the language, I suppose my mindset towards certain aspects of it has changed, and we see a lot of people debate the famous seanachal is jaar gaeilge bhriste ná béarla cliste agus i gúnaí is jaar gaeilge ar bith ná béarla gúnaí. Any Irish is always better than English, but then I suppose for those who pursue the language academically and who have a keen interest in the preservation of high quality beautiful Irish and all that makes Irish beautiful, I suppose the more that come into the language, potentially is there a risk there that it maybe gets diluted slightly, because it is an academically challenging language. I still struggle, and as much as I pursue it every single day and very studiously do so, it is difficult. So I guess some people, Irish speakers, would have maybe this fear or this worry, which I think is potentially justified, that the more open it becomes, is there a fear there that it would have to be simplified or diluted, as I said, to be more inclusive. There we go. Which I'm not particularly too concerned about, because those who will be pursuing the language at that 100%, we're always going to be here, and we're always going to make sure that the language will be preserved as she needs to be. But it's our language, and I'm like, if the context you want to use it in is saying diolch instead of hello, if you want to say slán to whoever in the shop and you want to say gur maith agat after you get your pint, if that's as much as is suitable and feasible for you to engage with the language, away with it. Nobody is saying you have to suddenly be fluent. Those who want to be fluent will be, and they will pursue it, and thankfully now the support to an extent and the resources are there to aid you in doing so. But I think the reason why people are maybe returning or trying to, I guess, align with this Irish culture and the whole image of it is, I think within the digital age there is such a social disconnect, and at the heart of social connection is language and culture. It's a universal language that can be spoken by people across the globe, and I think within such crazy times in the world, people really want to nearly come home to something, and the Irish culture is so grassroots and it's so beautiful and natural in a sense, that it feels like something comfortable to come home to.
It's a sacred space for an awful lot of people. With that in mind, Hugh, kind of just to wrap up, I guess, right now, maybe it's the brightest it's been on the world stage. You look at the likes of Jessie Buckley and Richard Bainham at the Oscars there, dropping cúpla focal into their speeches. And again, I'm sure most people are like, I don't know what that means, but like, they might want to know what it means. And people watching the social media element that you mentioned earlier on. I mean, the fact that, when I was younger, we didn't have quick fire clips of Paul Mescal saying it's cool to be Irish or Kneecap doing what they're doing. Like, it wasn't in front of you. What was in front of you was dusty old textbooks with fairly, beaten down stories that just didn't inspire. But what I want to know is there any risk of, now that everyone's involved, is it like, that's when something becomes uncool, right?
What's the quote? I wouldn't want to be a member of any club that would have me. Is that the
precisely? Yeah. Unless it's Club Carr on the Gaeilge.
Well, of course. Listen, and I will.
Which I have gone to, and as the evening went on, I
you were slipping into a few
ordering
words.
drinks in Irish, and you could tell that the staff members, and then they may have been patronising me, but they certainly appreciated that I tried. So, but I guess what I'm asking is, especially for two people in your position, whether it's the future of this or whatever, but like, there's always the risk though of like, oh well, if everyone's doing it now, that was my thing.
Is it uncool? I mean, I suppose with the idea that everyone thinks that there's a revival going on, to imply that Irish is cool again is to make it sound like it wasn't cool before, and like we always knew that it was cool. It never made an impact on whether or not we were involved with the language. I do think that it's a massive net positive though. For every if it's a thing that the Irish language is growing and that more and more people are getting into it and that it's becoming this, this massive kind of cultural movement, you're going to have detractors. Like, it's always going to happen that someone is going to be like, well, I don't know if I agree with this totally. And when you were talking about if it was getting diluted, like that conversation has literally been going on since the Caijan was invented, whenever they wanted to standardize the entire language, and everyone was like, wait, hold on a second, people don't all say it like this way, and this, like that's, we definitely couldn't get into that in a 25-minute podcast. These debates like this have been going on for so long. But if the overall number of people who are using it every single day, and on that thing, on is Fear Gaelic British and the Barla Cliste, I think it's kind of a bit like that phrase, the customer's always right, but you know how the full phrase is the customer's always right in terms of taste. I think as Fear Gaelic British and the Barla Cliste is kind of more directed towards learners, towards people who are kind of like
to take that first step.
Exactly.
Just try.
Just to go for it and just to see what it's like. So I'm not worried at all about if it's going to seem uncool or anything like that. I actually do think that we're at the start of something really amazing at the minute. And
as we've established though, you were always cool. Laura, last question for you, especially as the teacher in the room. Not that you're not a teacher.
No, I'm not a teacher. I'll never claim to be.
Qualified Moonshower over here. If someone like me, someone is listening right now and they say, I do want to get involved, but I'm a bit intimidated by it. What is the best thing, the beginner's guide? Like what should someone listening right now do to improve, their life through the Irish language, through the Irish culture? Like, what can they do quickly to get up to speed with it?
Yeah. Everybody is going to be different, and what I would say for you personally, you're going to free one-to-one here, who didn't have the best experience with it in school, I'd say the last place you want to go to is book. Don't be buying an Irish book. The first thing I think is to interact with the language in a way that aligns with your personal interests and make it just part of your day-to-day routine. I think that's a really good place to start, and then it just kind of gets the cogs turning. I say that if there's Gaeilge hiding in there, she's kind of frozen over a little bit, she'll just start to thaw out, and just that she's something that can come towards the forefront of your brain, because speaking a language is really intimate, Sometimes I get really nervous, like when I'm speaking to a really, really like amazing native speaker, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. It is intimate, but just the more you can bring it to the forefront of your brain. So if your thing is sport teaching Carr, amazing nuggets of wisdom to be and knowledge to be gotten there from the commentary. If your thing is music, Imle, Kneecap, off you go. If it's just your normal routine is just doom scrolling on TikTok for half an hour before bed, the best thing is you can do that now. All you have to do is search hashtag Gaeilge, hashtag Gaeilge or Gaeltalk, and there's literally thousands of videos there. So just whatever your daily practices are, instead of listening to your regular podcast, listen to an Irish language podcast. There are so many that are available.
Shockton on the Irish Independent Network, of course. I must get that in with the wonderful Tessa Fleming.
Yes.
I would encourage people to go and listen to that.
Exactly.
So there are ways around this. We can all have our own levels. Thank you. Like, this has been genuinely fascinating for me and genuinely inspiring. And I don't test me on it in a month or anything. I will try. In the meantime, Laura Pakenham, Hugh Carr, go Raibh Mahagut.
Perfect.
I'm trying and I'm failing.
No, you're perfect.
You said it. We understood what you meant.
Exactly, yeah.
Baseline is communication.
On podcast Go Talk. Thank you both.
Gur míle maith.
Very good.